Alright, let's go through the transaction process and see how it works with a real-life example. We have John Doe, the seller, who has listed his services of designing functional wax up, and Adrian, the buyer, who is interested in sending a case to John. So, we'll go through the entire transaction process step by step, and we'll see exactly how the transaction process works from both the buyer's and seller's perspectives. Let's take the next step in our journey as a buyer. Once we're on the listing page, we can easily send a case to John by clicking on the Send Case button. As we had previously discussed the case with John, we know that his service is priced per unit or tooth. So, we'll select just 2 units for now, although we have the option to choose up to 12 units if we were looking for a full mouth rehabilitation. We'll be taken to a page where we can fill in all the necessary details. Here, we can also include an optional message to John, providing any additional information about our case that we want to share with him. Once we have reviewed the price breakdown and are ready to proceed, we can make the payment. The payment process is seamless and secure, and we have the option to pay using our credit or debit card via Stripe. Just enter your credit card details and click on Confirm Payment. Now that the payment has been made, the purchase request has been officially sent to the seller. The funds have been successfully reserved from our credit card, and the seller has been notified of the purchase request. As the buyer, we can still view the transaction from our perspective. We can write additional messages to the seller, share files, and review our initial message and payment authorization that initiated the transaction. It's important to note that although the funds have been reserved from the credit card, they are not yet transferred to the seller. Stripe holds the funds until the order is marked as complete. Now let's suppose we are the seller. We will receive 2 notifications about the purchase request, one via email and another in the Marketplace interface at the top bar. Although we could access the purchase request via the email notification, we are already at the Marketplace, so let's click on the inbox icon directly to access the purchase request. At CadCamMasters, all the messages and transactions appear in the seller's inbox. Here, we can see that we have 1 transaction waiting for us to accept. Let's quickly open it. As the seller, we can see the transaction details, including the price breakdown and confirmation that the payment has been authorized and the funds are reserved. It's important to note that as the seller, we have the option to write a message to the buyer even before accepting the purchase request. Once we are ready to confirm the acceptance or rejection of the purchase request, we can choose either Accept Request or Not This Time, based on our situation. For the purpose of this transaction, let's assume we want to accept the purchase request. So, we'll go ahead and click on Accept Request. This will allow us to accept the purchase request and move forward with the transaction. After that, we will be taken to a new page for the final confirmation. Firstly, we can choose whether to keep the listing open, close it while we're accepting the transaction, or reject the transaction altogether. In addition, we can include an optional message to the buyer. This is a great opportunity to establish good communication with the buyer and provide any additional details or instructions regarding the transaction. Once we have made our decision and included any message we want, we simply click on the Accept button located at the bottom of the page to confirm our decision. Great news! The money has been transferred and is now being held by Stripe until the order is complete. Once we have accepted the purchase request, we are redirected back to the transaction conversation screen. Here, we can see the payment for the listing was successful, as opposed to only being authorized before acceptance. We are also notified that it is now our responsibility to fulfill the order, and the buyer must mark the order as complete before payment is released to our bank account. Now, let's go back to the buyer's interface. As the buyer, once the seller has accepted the purchase request, we get a new view that confirms the successful payment and shows the total amount paid. Additionally, we receive a notification indicating that the seller needs to fulfill the transaction by providing the functional wax for 1 tooth to us. Once the design is delivered by John, we, as Adrian, have the option to mark the transaction as complete if we are satisfied with the work, or to dispute the transaction if there are any issues. In this case, let's proceed to mark the transaction as complete. Great news! We have arrived at the final step of the transaction process. As the buyer, we are now presented with a confirmation page where we must choose whether to mark the transaction as completed or dispute it if we are not satisfied with the seller's delivery. Once the order is marked as complete, the funds will be released to the seller's bank account. We can also choose to provide feedback to the seller or skip it. Since Adrian was satisfied with John's services, he wishes to share his positive experience by providing feedback. So let's do that. Leaving feedback is simple. Just write about your experience with the seller, choosing a rating from 1 to 5, and click on Send Feedback. Since we are very satisfied with what John has delivered, let's leave him nice feedback and a 5-star rating. The transaction has now been completed successfully, and both Adrian and John are satisfied with the outcome. We can view the transaction thread page and see the confirmation of the transaction status, along with the feedback given by Adrian. All the previous information, including the messages, is still visible. As the seller, we can now view the transaction thread and choose to provide feedback or skip it. The transaction being marked as completed means that the funds will be released to our bank account after about 7 days from the order completion date. We can also see this information in the transaction thread. That's it! You are now fully equipped with knowledge of the main workflows of the CadCamMasters platform, and it is time to take your digital dentistry work to a whole new level. We're always here to help you reach your goals, so get ready to connect and explore the endless possibilities. And if you have any further questions or need assistance, our support team is just a text away. Thank you for watching, and take care.